So we grew up in Elliott, Maine, a really small town, the very southern tip of it. I was born in Port Simpson, New Hampshire, right across the river. Grew up there. It's kind of a small fishing town kind of set up. Lots of like-minded rednecks there, people who are into off-road and hunting and fishing and stuff. My dad's Renaissance men are a dying breed, and it's the saddest thing in life, because the men who could do it all, they could build a house, work on a car, they could dance with their wife, they could take them out on the town, show them a great time, be a gentleman, speak eloquently. Those things are dying, and that's one of the things that my father instilled on myself and my siblings, is it's not enough to be a man in this world. It is your job and your requirement to make an impact, to make a positive impact in the world. And if you have an opportunity to do that and pass knowledge, that is your responsibility. That's the true definition of a Renaissance man, is to learn and pass it on. Not learn and keep the knowledge, but because knowledge is not ours, it's to be shared. That was one of the things that it was bestowed upon me and my brother and my sister from my mother and my father. They're both super people, but they ingrained that personal growth in us. So getting back to motocross, we would get these old junkyard bikes, and my dad would teach us how to fix them. So from a young age, I think I was 7 years old when I ripped apart my first engine in front of my dad, and I'd look up every now and then and be like, am I doing this right? He's like, he just nod and say, keep going. I'll stop you if you're doing something wrong. And I remember the first time I rebuilt one completely, he never touched me or said a word, never tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, stop for a second. And I knew I did the whole thing by myself. And that was a huge milestone for me in my life, because I was like, no matter what happens, I know I can handle if this breaks down. I know how to fix it. So that's kind of where that stemmed from. And then, I'd ride around on trails and stuff on my dirt bike and tool around with my brother and my friends. And I came across a motocross track, like rides the ones one day. There's this motocross track in the back of this guy's yard. And this guy was flying over these jumps. I just remember I was sitting there like mesmerized. I was like, I didn't know you could do that on a bike. I've never seen anything that crazy in my life. And he stops and he comes over and chats with me for a moment. He's like, I asked him, I was like, what is this that you're doing? He's like, this is a supercross track. He's like, this is what you see like all the pros doing. I was like, there's professionals in this sport? I had no idea. Like most small towns, you get claustrophobic, I guess, is the term for it. So you get used to their ways, or after a while, it either becomes a part of your life or an annoyance. In my case, it became an annoyance. So I just wanted to get somewhere better in my mind as quick as I could. So when I graduated high school, I started looking into places I always wanted to go. Colorado attracted me because of the sunshine. I remember reading a book about Colorado about 300 plus days of sun. That blew my mind, because where I grew up was 160 days of sun, maybe a year. I moved out west at first to go to a mechanic school in Arizona. I'd been growing up building back east with my father and my brother most of my life, and then my brother packed up and moved before I did to Denver. And I went down to Arizona and went to school, and that kind of like fell apart a little. I have a little bit of a checkered past. So I got thrown in jail in Colorado in Douglas County for fighting. So that basically stopped me going back to school. I came to Colorado then. At that point, it was more of a reluctant thing because I couldn't leave. So it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth of the Colorado thing and having to work here. And so it kind of put me into like a little bit of a depression. So I tried to find things to do, to work out and all that stuff. But the problem is that between paying off my restitution and all my fun stuff from court, I didn't have much time or money left over for that. So I would work out any way I could. And usually that was just running and doing calisthenics in a field. I just continued building with my brother for a while. We opened up our own business. It was pretty successful for a while until the crash in 2008. When that happened, we both went our separate ways. I ended up doing some cabinetry for a little while, and then I through a friend, actually recommended this to me. He's like, have you ever thought about getting into explosives. It's like, no, it's never even crossed my mind. Why would it, you know? So I went to a civilian explosive school, graduated from that, and then I went on the road for about 8 years working as an unexploded ordnance technician. Got to see a lot of the country, other parts of the world. That was probably one of the best decisions I made in my life, because it opened my eyes to a lot of different cultures and just places to go see. Not necessarily great places, because most ranges are not in fantastic places, but basically see how well I could adapt in those situations. 2009, I was at a job in Vandenberg, California, Lompoc, California. And one of my friends was like, hey, I found this gym, it's up in Santa Maria, and they do this kind of cool workout with barbells and running. And it's like, it's all I know this far. You want to go up and go check it out? It's like, okay, let's go up and see what this is about. We went in, signed our waiver, paid, I don't remember, did the month. It absolutely destroyed me. Never had a workout so hard in my life. Athletics usually came to me pretty naturally. I had something, you know, I had to put a little bit of effort into it, but it was something I could excel at. Most athletics, basketball, baseball, football, soccer, whatever, track and field, same thing. It was like the complete opposite. I was at the bottom of the totem pole, and it just aggravated me. It aggravated me so bad that I was like, I'm going again tomorrow, I don't care how sore I am, to see if I could do it better. And of course, it was a different workout, because in my mind, I was like, we're gonna do the same thing every day. It wasn't the case. The gym was in Santa Maria was run by people that were, I later found out that they weren't certified coaches or even an affiliate, and I had no idea what that meant at the time. So their main thing was put on as much weight as you can and just gird out, no matter the form, no matter what happens. So it kind of put a little bit of a bad taste. Once again, I was like, I could see myself getting really hurt, so I'm gonna back off a little bit. Kat, my wife, and I started talking again, and she brought up CrossFit, because she was like in the Kool-Aid, really enjoyed it. And I was like, I could see myself hurting something on my body doing this. And she's like, have you ever been to an affiliate? I was like, what's an affiliate? And she explained the difference between, I was like, oh, maybe Santa Maria was not an affiliate. So I went to another job site out in Salt Lake. So I went to CrossFit Ute downtown. Our first workout there was Fran. And then if you can complete Fran in a certain amount of time, you did heavy Fran. You took a 10-minute break and did heavy Fran. There was only one person there that did it, and I had no idea who this guy was, but everyone there was like, he's a superstar. It was Chris Spieler. So he literally did all of Fran, went for a run, came back after we were all dying on the floor, and did heavy Fran, and then went for a run and came back. And was standing the whole time. I was just like, that's how good I want to be. I was like, if I could be any realm of that kind of capacity, that would be that'd be the pinnacle. That's what I'm going to strive for. I spoke to him for a few minutes. He was getting ready to go to the games again. So I was like, what's the CrossFit Games? He's like, oh, it's just it's a competition where we all qualify for, and he explained to me the open, the regionals, and all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay, can anyone go? And this and that. He's like, no, it's not just anyone. It's kind of the top of the top. But I didn't realize then. The more workouts I did, was like, oh, these guys can do all these workouts plus more, plus all the weight. It's like they're literally dedicated to this to a whole nother level. But that kind of like sparked a new energy for me. So I just like totally got immersed into it. I went and spent a little money on a small rogue rig that I could haul around with my RV. Had a little bit of weight with it, something I could do pull-ups on. I had one kettlebell and wall ball that I used to do on the side of my RV. And the rest is history. It's just started from there, and it's just been accumulating more and more knowledge everywhere I've been going, and just trying to get more into it and learn the aspects of it from each class I go to. Fast forward to, I was 36 years old and going on one of my jobs down in Sonoran Desert, Gila Bend, Arizona, with my best friend, who was big into motocross. And he's like, you should get a dirt bike again, man. And I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get a dirt bike and we're gonna start riding. And I just dove into it head first. I love riding. You'll never see me come back on a dirt bike or anything off-road without a huge smile on my face. Even if I'm covered in blood head to toe, I've had the best time ever. It's one of those things that I can totally get to escape whatever's in life on. I went and did a partner workout at Norco CrossFit, and the guy that I was working out with happened to be a pro rider. And he's like, we got to talking, he's like, have you experienced your endurance increase with riding yet? And I hadn't really put the two together yet because I was riding in the Sonora Desert, which was like, I think it was just below 3,000 feet. And I was supposed to go riding that weekend. And I was like, but I'm going to pay attention to it. And we went up to Breckenridge and rode all the way up to 13,000 feet and never once stopped. I mean, we were going pretty hard too. It's, typically you have arm pump, you have your lactic buildup in your chest and your legs. It's a pretty intense sport, if you want to make it that way. I rode all day I only had to stop for gas and food. And I was just like, yeah, CrossFit is making a huge difference in this. Yeah, so rock crawling, a friend of mine got me into that. He's been doing it most of his life, and he has this really mean Scout that he's completely customized and built up. And I saw it in his garage one day, and I was just like, what is this thing for? I'd never seen, you see mud trucks where I grew up, and those guys just go through swamps and lakes and whatnot. And it wasn't really for me, because whenever I took my truck off-road in the East Coast, I'd have to take it apart, take the hubs out, clean all the mud out, re-grease everything. It's just like, this is not for me. But he took me on this trail, and actually it's closed now, Left Hand Canyon. And we were going over these rocks that were the size of, tractors and whatnot. We're just going over them, smashing over them. And I was just like, this is the greatest. This is like hiking for vehicles. This is fantastic. We were going up stuff that you couldn't walk up. And I was like, I'm hooked now. So I found an old Scout in Texas that this guy was just getting rid of. And one thing led to another, put it on a trailer, towed it, started working on it. Started learning as I was going. My mechanic ability was okay at that point. I could rebuild small motors and stuff, but I didn't really know how to weld. I didn't really know how to do the geometry and the math that was involved. So it was definitely a very slow process. I'm not a fast mechanic by any means, and I do things over a lot. I'll cut stuff off and start again, but I got everything on there. I made my own Lincoln lockers on that, which you just weld the spider gears together to make it so all four wheels spin, and super annoying when you're on the road because they just chirp around every corner. But took it out to Moab, lost the brakes on a hill, crashed into a tree, rolled it over a couple times. So it was like right up my alley. Focus now is more form, and then I think the strength will follow. Before, it was I just had that young man's, because when I used to work out at the gym, it was just the beach workouts. I worked both muscle groups, biceps and chest. So, and that was all I ever did when there. I did one thing one day and did the exact thing 2 days later. Just driving to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and, natural strength and no knowledge of what you're doing will get you so far, and then it'll get you hurt. So I'm thinking now, especially with, the coaching that I have available to me, it's going to be the difference of actually building strength for life. The main thing is if I can stay strong and active for as long as possible, that's my goal. If I happen to get really strong in the meantime, that's an extra, that's a great thing. But if it keeps me moving through the things that I want to do effectively, like motocross I'm still into, rock crawling, still do that, hiking, all that fun stuff. And of course, I'm pretty active at my job. If I can keep doing all that stuff safely and not get hurt, that's a win. And I think this will help me get there. The shining example. I have a great time every time I come to the gym. And this place is I can get into it further later, my other gym experiences, but this place is just, the shy Adam leaves as soon as I walk in the door. So it's like, I want to come in here and I want to support everybody and have a great time. It's getting me back to my roots of working out with just my buddies And we had a great time, poke a little fun at each other and encourage each other. And this place reminds me so much of that. And like, I hit a PR squat in here this summer. I hit 325, which I haven't been over 300 pounds in a long time. I haven't been over 300 pounds correctly ever. So that was huge for me. I still need to work on it, obviously, but that was like, I can do this effectively with the correct mobility and the range of motion. You know, I don't have to do it ugly and just say, I got the weight up. I can do that. It's like doing it effectively. That was, excuse me, that was my light bulb moment. And then to add on top of that, to expound, the little corrections of like going through the correct range of motion and like locking my knees out in the kettlebell, that was huge, because now I know I can do that longer. I don't have to grind through it and rely on my fitness for it. I can actually rely on form to do it correctly. And it actually is going to be better for me afterwards. That's a refreshing thing about this sport, and especially at this place, this gym, that I love so much, is that form is key, form is paramount. Then, you know, beyond that, it's building strength, building quality strength for what you want to do later on. And I think that's what attracts me most to it, is it's effective. It's not all big and flashy like the commercial gyms, which is part of another thing that I hated going in there. I almost hated myself. It's like, do I really want to be part of this community? It's like, I'm in there by myself anyway. I might as well go do something I like. You know, going into a cool place that you can actually smell the sweat and the work when you go in there, and seeing smiling faces and people having a great time and yelling and, you know, sometimes angry because they missed something or angry because they got something and they're just shelling out the adrenaline. That's where it's at. That's the community you want to be a part, or I want to be a part of anyway. And I know I found it. So, and my wife says the same thing. Kat and I are so thrilled coming home from this place every day. It makes our day. It makes our weeks better, and we enjoy each other's company better because of it. So I couldn't ask anything more of it. So.